Hi all, Simon Pimenta here. I want to talk about the brain and neuroplasticity. In order to understand the threats to resilience and well-being, as well as understanding stress, we need to understand how the brain works and how it can work for or against us. Scientists used to think that the adult brain didn't change. We now know that every time we use it, the brain builds connections. The neurons get thicker and stronger and therefore fire more quickly. There are many studies that demonstrate this. Eleanor Maguire of University College London carried out one of these studies in 2000. She studied London's famous black cab drivers to look at the effect that learning had on their brains. You may know that black cab drivers have to memorise the name and locations of 25,000 streets and need to be able to describe the route between any two streets. I've tested a friend of mine who is a black cab driver, and it's amazing his knowledge. I can say to him, what is the side road of that side road? And he can tell me the answer. And what this researcher found was that part of their brain, the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory and spatial awareness, was larger and more highly developed compared to the general public. So she proved that the brain grows with use. That means the brain is a bit like a muscle. The implication is that what we practice, we get good at. So if you're learning to play a musical instrument, as you practice, the connections in the brain get stronger and faster until it becomes an automatic and unconscious skill, something you don't have to think about. I play guitar and I don't have to think about where to put my fingers to play the chord of C. So we become good at things that are useful. The problem is that we can get good at things that are not useful. Every time you feel overwhelmed about the things you have to do, you get better at feeling overwhelmed. Every time you get anxious about the same thing, for example, for me it was like doing exercise at one point when I had CFS, you get better at generating those feelings of anxiety. And that's what I would do, not even realise I was generating anxiety in my body, because these patterns can become unconscious. So we need to understand how our responses become conditioned. The work of Pavlov gives us some insight into this. He did an experiment where every time he fed his dogs, he rang a bell. After a while, the dogs would salivate on hearing the bell. So they had associated the sound of the bell with food. Some researchers wanted to know if humans could be conditioned in the same way. So they did some research. It has to be said, it wasn't very ethical. They got a baby called Albert who was 9 months old, and they showed Albert a live rat, rabbit, monkey and various masks to see what his reaction was to those stimuli. Now initially he didn't respond because he didn't realise he was supposed to feel scared of those different animals. However, when a steel bar behind his head was struck with a hammer, he became startled and afraid. 2 months later he was shown the rat and the steel bar was struck, and this was done once a week for 7 weeks. And each time baby Albert burst into tears. When he saw the rat, he would show signs of fear. The researchers also found that he developed phobias of objects that had similar characteristics to the rat. So for example, the family dog, a fur coat, cotton wool and a Father Christmas mask. This is known as generalizing. So now you can see how our responses become conditioned. The next question is, how do we undo those habitual, unhelpful responses? And I'll talk about that in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching, wishing you great health. Bye for now.